Hello, my motor enthusiasts. Welcome to F1 Motor Fever podcast.
Hello, Enzo. Can you share who secured the pole position at the recent Saudi Arabia Grand Prix?
Indeed, it was Max Verstappen who clinched the first pole position in Jeddah, with Charles Leclerc and Sergio Pérez following him.
Quite a lineup. And what can we expect from Pérez in the race?
Pérez mentioned he missed out on the front row due to his last lap, but expressed confidence in his team's performance. There's certainly plenty of action expected.
And Leclerc, how's he feeling about the race?
Leclerc seems rather pleased with his final lap and feels comfortable in the car. He's hoping to challenge the Red Bulls.
And what about Verstappen's thoughts on securing the pole position?
Verstappen described his pole position as a great achievement and expressed comfort with the car throughout qualifying. He's certainly looking forward to the race.
And any news from the conference about the young talent, Oliver Bearman?
Verstappen and Leclerc praised Bearman's performance in his debut with Ferrari. They are hopeful of scoring good points for the team.
Amazing. I can't wait to delve deeper into the action and strategies.
Hey everyone, as you already know, I'm your host, Enzo Watts.
And it's William at your service.
You're with us on channel F1 Motor Fever podcast. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated. Full throttle, let's dive in. Quite an interesting lineup, wouldn't you agree, with Verstappen at the pole position, followed by Leclerc and Pérez?
Certainly, and Pérez is starting third on the grid, despite not improving on his final lap. What can we expect from him?
Indeed, Pérez didn't seem thrilled with his last lap, but he still believes being on the front row was achievable. However, he's confident that they're still in the fight for tomorrow. After all, it's a long race, and anything can happen.
Sounds like there's plenty of action in store. And Leclerc, how was his performance?
Leclerc made an interesting move in Q3 where they tried something different, doing a preparation lap. However, that didn't quite work out for them. But he managed to put everything together in his second lap and was quite happy with the result, despite being a bit further away than they'd hoped in qualifying.
And what's his stance on challenging the Red Bulls?
Well, he's hopeful for a good surprise tomorrow and believes they'll be able to challenge the Red Bulls.
Fantastic. It seems like we have an exciting race ahead of us.
Talking about Leclerc, it seems his team has made some significant progress since last year. He appears to be more comfortable and optimistic about the car's performance during race runs.
True, they're striving to optimize everything possible for the race. The team dynamics have also altered, with Oliver stepping in for Carlos.
That's right, and although it must have been challenging for Oliver to get into the groove with just one FP3 session, Leclerc commends his performance and is hopeful for a successful race day for both of them.
And then there's Verstappen, who's thrilled with his first pole position in Jeddah. His confidence seems to be soaring.
Indeed, he has mentioned that the overnight improvements made to the car have boosted his confidence, especially in tackling the high-speed corners. He has compared his lap to the failed 21 lap, but this time, he's made the last corner.
I've never thought about it from that angle. A driver's confidence can be significantly affected by the small improvements and the trust they develop in their vehicles. That's an interesting perspective.
Precisely, and that confidence will be a crucial factor in tomorrow's race. The cars have been performing well, so we can expect a fierce competition. There's an interesting perspective from Verstappen on the unpredictability of races here. He's noted that while many predict an easy one-stop strategy, things tend to be quite different on the race day.
That's what makes it exciting, isn't it? Verstappen seems confident in their race pace, which bodes well for tomorrow's competition.
Absolutely. And talking about confidence, Verstappen's performance during the qualifying session has been nothing short of impressive. He's mentioned feeling more comfortable with the car and being able to push it more.
It's also worth mentioning that this is Verstappen's first pole position here in Jeddah and the 56th of his Formula One career.
Well, correction there. It's actually the 55th, a mix-up during the press conference, but nonetheless, a remarkable achievement. He has appreciated how well the car was performing and how comfortable he felt pushing it to the limit, which he believes helps get a good lap time out of it.
Seems like I got too excited there, but no doubt, it's a brilliant achievement. Do you think this could be one of Verstappen's best ever pole positions?
Verstappen indeed thinks so. He's particularly satisfied with how he managed to navigate the high-speed corners and hit the apexes. In fact, he compared it to the 21 qualifying lap, but this time without hitting the wall in the last corner.
A promising start then. Let's see how this translates into the race.
Moving on to the race's preparation, Verstappen is optimistic about the long run. He mentions that yesterday's car setup wasn't as good as today's, but he's looking forward to a potentially strong race tomorrow.
He also mentioned that the degradation won't be as high as in Bahrain, indicating a different challenge to drivers and their tyres.
Quite right, and it seems that Verstappen is bracing himself for the dash to turn 1 against Hamilton.
Actually, it's Leclerc. It's Verstappen and Leclerc on the front row for the 5th consecutive race.
My apologies, I misspoke. You're absolutely right. It's indeed Leclerc and not Hamilton. Pairing Verstappen with Leclerc, it's going to be an intriguing start to watch.
Meanwhile, Leclerc doesn't sound too pleased with the performance of the Ferrari. He mentioned some difficulties with the new tyres and that the car wasn't quite in the right place today.
That's true. He's hinted at an unexpected oversteer and thinks the rear of the Ferrari isn't quite ready. It seems they tried something different in Q3, but it didn't help.
Leclerc admitted that they've possibly left a bit of performance on the table. It'll be interesting to see how they handle these challenges during the race.
Leclerc seems to be preparing for a physically demanding race here in Jeddah. He believes it to be one of the most difficult races of the season. It reminds me of my early years as a sports reporter when I had to cover a triathlon. The physical preparation involved was immense.
Oh, really? Were you also running alongside the athletes in your reporter hat and notepad?
Well, not quite that. But reporting on these events do require a certain level of physical stamina, Juggling equipment, catching the athletes for a quick word, keeping up with the action, it's not a walk in the park.
My apologies, I didn't mean to undermine your experience there. It must have been quite demanding indeed.
It was, but let's focus back on Leclerc. He's optimistic about the race, although he acknowledges the challenges. Notably, he believes the Red Bulls are beatable.
Yes, and let's not forget, he mentioned the absence of Carlos Sainz and the remarkable impact Ollie Behrman has had in his debut with Ferrari. It seems Leclerc is hoping for a good score tomorrow for everyone to remember.
Perez isn't as thrilled about his performance today as he was yesterday. He seems to feel they've taken a step back, and he's unsure of the cause.
It sounds like he's hoping for better results come race day. He points out that the race here will hinge on race pace and tyre degradation, which echoes what Verstappen mentioned earlier.
Absolutely. Checo also believes that overtaking is possible on this track, which adds an extra layer of excitement to the race.
Indeed, that means the drivers will have to have their wits about them and keep an eye on their rearview mirrors.
Moving on to Verstappen's run in Q3, he admits he had a minor hiccup between turns 9 and 10 that cost him some momentum. But his first lap was a strong one, and he didn't want to risk damaging his car just for the sake of slightly improving his lap time.
It seems to be a calculated decision on Verstappen's part. It's important to avoid unnecessary risks on a street circuit like Jeddah, where the margins for error are so slim.
Moving on, Leclerc has shared that the feeling was not quite right from Q1 during the qualifying, and they still need to understand what went wrong. He mentioned trying a different approach with the tires, but unfortunately, it didn't yield the expected results.
It seems like a bit of a puzzle they're trying to solve. Understanding the tires and exploiting them to their maximum is a huge part of achieving success in Formula One.
Absolutely. Now, there's a question for Verstappen here that's quite intriguing. Helmut Marko, a key figure in the Red Bull team, has hinted that this could potentially be his last race.
Helmut has been instrumental in the success of Red Bull, hasn't he?
Indeed, and Verstappen evidently shares a deep respect and loyalty towards Marco. He credits him for much of their collective success and insists on the importance of Marco's presence for his future decision-making within the team. He emphasizes the need to keep key people together for the team's success.
That's a testament to the personal relationships that exist within a Formula One team. It's not just about the drivers and the cars, it's also about the individuals who contribute behind the scenes.
Leclerc, Verstappen, and Perez all seem to be in agreement about the difficulty of this track. Leclerc has specifically highlighted it as being one of the most challenging ones on the calendar.
It's interesting that all three drivers were watching Oliver's performance. Leclerc mentioned how Oliver handled the pressure perfectly, and Verstappen was particularly impressed by Oliver's composure from the very start.
It's quite a commendation, considering Verstappen's standing in the sport. Perez also echoed similar thoughts, stating that this track is, ironically, the last place you'd want to make your debut due to its demanding nature.
Indeed, Perez pointed out that this is a track where confidence in the car and balance is crucial. All three drivers seem to be in awe of Oliver's performance and his ability to adapt so quickly. It's a testament to his skill and resolve.
Let's delve into some personal reflections from our racers. When asked about their memories from their first race, Perez remembers the bitter disappointment of disqualification due to a minor infraction with the rear wing, but he also fondly recalls fighting Ferraris in his debut race. Quite a roller coaster of emotions, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's always a mix of emotions when you're starting something new, especially on such a grand stage. It reminds me of something my uncle used to say. Every new journey comes with its own set of peaks and valleys.
Wise words indeed. Verstappen, on the other hand, recalls the nervousness of his debut and the disappointment of his car breaking down, but he also noted how well his race was going up until that point. As for Leclerc, he remembers the excitement of his first race, even though they weren't as competitive as expected.
It just goes to show you that even the most seasoned drivers have had their share of ups and downs. It's part and parcel of the sport, and it's these experiences that shape them into the racers they are today.
Quite right. Now, Leclerc was also asked about the advantages and disadvantages of Oliver only having hours to prepare for his debut. He points out that while it is a challenge, Oliver didn't have much time to overthink it, and his talent along with the preparatory work done on the simulator made a huge difference.
It's great to see that recognition. As they say, there's no substitute for talent and preparation.
As we continue our deep dive into the drivers' impressions, Perez acknowledged the importance of hosting such events for a country. He also appreciated the enthusiasm of the Saudi audience. I believe you've personally experienced this enthusiasm, haven't you, William?
Indeed, Enzo. The passion for motor racing here is palpable, and it's always a pleasure to see the sport embraced so warmly.
Now, the drivers were also asked why this race is considered one of the most challenging. Leclerc attributes it to the fast corners on a street track, where the slightest miscalculation can result in hitting the wall. Precision is key to navigating this track successfully.
Verstappen echoes similar sentiments. He also highlighted the unique attributes of the track, including its anti-clockwise direction and the constant high levels of G-forces, particularly in the first sector. The proximity of the walls makes maintaining absolute focus crucial.
The narrow margin for error definitely ramps up the adrenaline, doesn't it, William?
Without a doubt, Enzo, it's this thrill of the challenge that makes Formula One such a spectacle.
Momentarily veering off the racing track here, if you're enjoying our content, would you kindly tap that like button and subscribe to F1 Motor Fever podcast? Your support really helps us keep delivering top-notch content at zero cost to you. And why not share the thrill with your pals? We're live every single day. Special episodes air on race weekends, and every Thursday morning, we drop an extra-long special episode on an epic subject.
Couldn't have said it better. Your support truly means the world to us. Now, back to the high-octane conversation.
Moving forward, the drivers shared some intriguing insights about the track. Verstappen pointed out that even the straights here are not technically straights. The constant turning and pulling of G-forces doesn't allow for much rest. On top of that, the degradation is low, meaning the drivers can push hard on every single lap.
Quite interesting, isn't it? The physical demand of a track often goes unnoticed, but drivers feel the difference in their bodies. Verstappen mentioned how the bumps on areas like turn 22 affects visibility as well. Do you think such factors significantly impact the driver's performance?
Absolutely. These elements can be quite challenging, adding to the physical strain. Perez also shared his memory of a particularly intense race with Verstappen. He described it as one of the most physically demanding races he's had due to the high G-forces experienced consistently throughout the course.
The demanding nature of the track seems to be a consensus among the drivers. Leclerc, despite being a fan of city tracks, ranks Jeddah among his top 4, alongside Monaco, Singapore, and Baku. What's your take on this preference?
It's true that city tracks bring a unique blend of thrill and challenge. Fast corners and narrow paths require high levels of precision and focus. It's no surprise that such tracks have a special place in drivers' hearts. However, Verstappen favors historic tracks more.
So, it's a matter of personal preference then. Let's not forget Perez, who's been doing exceptionally well on this track. It's one of his favorites too. Do we know why some drivers excel more on certain types of tracks?
That's a great question. It could be a combination of driving style, car capabilities, and personal comfort with the track layout. All these factors can contribute to a driver's performance. Looking ahead, Perez anticipates an intense race with 50 laps around the track. The high demands of this course are expected to take everything out of the drivers.
And that's precisely the thrill of Formula One, isn't it? Seeing these drivers push their limits, navigating the challenges of each track. It's not just about the speed, but also the resilience, strategy, and skill.
Absolutely. Each race is a test of endurance, mental strength, and technical prowess. The anticipation is already building for tomorrow's race, and it promises to be a riveting contest.
Undoubtedly, it's going to be quite the spectacle. Fingers crossed for a safe and exciting race.
William, do you fancy taking a look at some online chatter? What's the latest buzz from the denizens of the digital world?
Right, let's take a gander. A user by the name of Alex K shares a quote from Max Verstappen, who's clear as day, saying, quote, "I cannot continue without helmet Marco. Unworkable situation if helmet had to leave," unquote.
Oh, that's a bold statement.
Indeed, and it seems to have sparked quite the debate. User Lake Silly comments, quote, "This is actually crazy," unquote. And Funmaster Jerky responds, quote, "Max is actually crazy to say that about an 80-year-old man. What would he do then?" unquote.
Any standout responses to that?
Well, Not That Drunk suggests, quote, "Crystal clear, retirement," unquote. Bob Dobbs Hobnobs humorously adds, quote, "Or Horner arranges weekend at Helmets," unquote. And Thalapeng chimes in saying, quote, "Considering what a Cellstone is capable of, maybe even Bernie's," unquote.
Haha, that's brilliant. Anything else caught your eye?
There's a thoughtful comment here from Killer Blue Skies. They believe Max feels indebted to Marco for his career, and it's a matter of principle for him to stand by Marco. Another user, Tree with a T, thinks it's about loyalty. They say, quote, "Max probably has the mindset of, I wouldn't have these titles without Marco. Marco has the perfect mindset for a prodigy like Max. He's harsh and throws talent into the pool. They either swim or drown," unquote.
That's quite insightful. Looks like the web is full of armchair analysts today. Well, that's all folks for this episode of F1 Motor Fever podcast. We've had quite a ride today, chatting about the ins and outs of the upcoming race and all things Formula One. And let's not forget how grateful we are for every single one of you tuning in. Don't be a stranger. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay in the loop. Share our podcast with your mates, your family, your pet parrot, anyone who will listen, really. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop us a comment if you can.
Yes, don't be that one mate who misses out on the next episode. And who knows, you might just learn something to impress your mates at the pub. Oh, and keep your eyes peeled for some exciting stuff coming up.
Couldn't have said it any better, William. Thanks again to our wonderful listeners. can't wait to do it all over again in our next episode. Until then, WebSocket, pedal to the metal, keep your gaze on the road. Our channel's content is pure gold.